greater autonomy for Enga, East New Britain and New Ireland. Bumbu River community calls on Provincial Administration to intervene. And under-19 national soccer team prepares for OFC challenge.
This is National MTV News with Meriba Tulo.
A very good evening. Thank you for joining us. This is Friday's news. Prime Minister Peter O'Neill closed the Governors' Conference in Madang yesterday afternoon with the signing of intergovernment agreements for 3 provinces, New Ireland, East New Britain and Enga. Mr. O'Neill said the signing marks the start of the process in granting greater autonomy to provinces. The Prime Minister said in the Alotau Accord No. 2 they had made a commitment in giving financial and administrative autonomy to provinces.
Prime Minister Peter O'Neill arrived in Madang yesterday to sign the intergovernment agreement for New Ireland, East New Britain and Enga. When signing the agreement, the Prime Minister said everything they do must be within the framework of the national constitution.
So since coming to government in 2011, our government is the only government that has been able to continuously fund both the provinces and the districts, despite some challenges in our growth and our economy. And that has enabled some visibility of the presence of government systems in our districts and our provinces. And I think you will find that where provinces and districts where there is strong and stable leadership, the changes are happening. And of course, micromanagement from Waigane will never again resolve all our issues and challenges that we face in our country.
Mr. O'Neill said as provinces prepare and are ready, substantial powers can be transferred to them with matching funds to ensure they provide quality services to their provinces. The Prime Minister commended the 3 provinces for taking the initiative to prepare to take on more responsibilities through the performance-based greater autonomy.
We want to continue to ensure that the progress that we have made over the past 6 or 7 years is continued to be maintained. And we have seen some evidence of how great our country can be over the last 5 or 6 years. When we continuously are embarking on a change about making sure that several heavily populated provinces and heavily populated districts and heavily populated cities in our country continue to be built, so that we can maximize the limited resources that we have in making sure that services are delivered. And when you look at our policies like tuition-free education, I know there are challenges. And of course, there will be challenges in the future. When you look at the free healthcare program,
in signing the agreement, the 3 provinces will start working with the national government to identify relevant areas for preparation for transfer of functions. After the signing, there will be a declaration in each province with the signing of the service delivery partnership agreements. These signings will take place on the respective provincial days.
Our people live in the provinces and the districts. And our aim as government is to making sure that these funds and the support and the technical capacity is passed on to those who are living in the provinces and working in the provinces.
Helen Sea, National MTV News.
A community living along the Bumbu River say they would like a dialogue with the Morbe Provincial Administration before a 21-day eviction deadline lapses. They were given the eviction order earlier this month and they say it will be difficult to have the families relocated.
This settlement is located behind the Bumbu police barracks. It's been there for at least 20 years. Authorities say this is an illegal settlement. The settlers believe otherwise. Early this month, they were given an eviction notice, the Morbe Provincial Administration giving them 21 days to pack up and leave. Yesterday, the community said they want a dialogue with the Provincial Administration.
This settlement is not a pop-up settlement. This settlement, people have seen down close to 30 years.
There are about 2,000 residents from various parts of Papua New Guinea. The residents say they are willing to leave, but the 21-day deadline is too short and they don't know where they will go.
I think long mipla talk no long mipla stop mipla ready logo, but the approach mipla ikam longan and mipla welcome this approach.
Settlement residents have been blamed for crimes committed in Leh City, and much of the concern stems from the difficulty of policing them and providing services. A lot of these settlements are located on state land and have their own complexities associated with them. There is also an existing court case on this portion of land. With a new eviction order, residents say they will go back to court. Scott Waide, National MTV News, Leh.
The Milford Haven health facility in Leh has been closed several times due to deteriorating infrastructure and a lack of medical equipment and staff. The clinic was built in the 1960s and serves over 13,000 people in Leh's Ward 3 area. Officer in charge, Lazarus Kareolanan, says they sought help from the Health Division, the provincial government and Leh urban local level government, but nothing was done.
This is the Milford Haven Clinic. It was built 50 years ago. It serves over 13,000 people. Over the years, the building has deteriorated to a point where it is not safe for people to use anymore.
Mipla been got one play incident where one black client Mipla was still been put on an injury like Blongam lawyer. Officer late Lotokumosem APEC.
There are only 3 staff working here, and they attend to almost 90 patients a day. Doctors visit this clinic twice a week. Currently, there is no autoclave machine to sterilize medical tools, remove germs and make them safe to use. Officer in charge Lazarus Kareolanan told MTV News in Leh that not much has been done by authorities to improve the standard of the facility over the years.
As far as me sabe long legal idea about him all funding and by still added. Even though me play try long ask him that's all no money no all talk me plus no money.
The clinic was fortunate to be assisted by a Leh-based company, Islands Petroleum, through its charity Colour Run event on the 22nd of this month, will raise funds towards the clinic's repair and maintenance and to purchase new equipment for the clinic. According to the company's lubrication sales engineer, Raybon Tamegal, the event is an annual event held throughout the country that focus on funding institutions that are in need.
We have a lot of corporate companies in Leh which have responded to our requests for donations and buying packages of T-shirts, of 50 T-shirts, 100 shirts and so forth.
Last year, the company raised more than 50,000 kina through the Colour Run event. The funds went towards Milford Haven Primary School. Julie Badui Owa, National MTV News, Leh.
2 weeks ago, Nick and Ruth Mina from Enga province lost everything they owned to a terrible fire. A 4-bedroom house, their poultry project and pigs were all consumed by the fire. The origins of the fire are still unknown.
Nick Minau and his family of 9 lost all they had to a fire 2 weeks ago.
Fire crap time. Me plan one plus something lo when me kiss him because fire come up and big blood through na hard logo in na kiss him. So everything burned into ashes.
Originally from Enga province, Mr. Minau has served in the central province as a teacher for the past 15 years. He retired early in 2015 due to medical advice. Upon his retirement, he purchased land and built his 4-bedroom home that cost him over 150,000 kina. His wife, Ruth Minau, was at home when the fire happened.
Fire kirap ananit lo waneme tamblo side. Na mi pili mo so mabla it kisimina mi ovim ne maina mi lugruge smuka mandap. Na mi go outside na mi lugimia. Underneath ndo dislapia ogoda magisa sleep underneath. Na fire kirap now. One blab kirap na fire kisimo geta mattress na one Sunday is WN. Ogeta fire light come on the smoke. To
this day, the family is unsure as to how the fire started. Lost to the fire were 70 chickens that were at 6 weeks and ready to be sold. Although nearby neighbors contributed some material to rebuild, it has not been enough. Mr. Minau says they lost everything to the fire. Right now, they are homeless and living in a small shack. The Minau family is now appealing to the wider community for help.
Mari staff by me appeal also if suppose possible people can help me. Otherwise, I will stop or some tassel.
Lilian Sopera-Kinea, National MTV News.
Families of 42 deceased police personnel will now receive long overdue life insurance payments. A check of 3.3 million kina was presented by Life Insurance to the police department today to cover outstanding funeral and life insurance claims. Police Union President Lowa Tambua said this was only a fraction of the 9.3 million kina claim that the union has been fighting for since 2017. But he has assured families of deceased union members that the remaining balance of 6.3 million kina will be paid in fortnightly tranches of 3 million kina.
What they are paying today, we are presenting today is 3.3 million. Then we have a balance of 6.3 million, which the government will still pay. But we've been assured by the Deputy Prime Minister and the Treasury Department that the next coming fortnight, they'll pay us another 3 million. And then the next coming fortnight, they will pay us another 3 million. And the balance all by Rausimosen. So that's what all the presentation today is. So
the Governors' Conference should be held annually so that the government and people of respective provinces are updated on future development plans. Speaking following the recent Governors' Conference in Madang, Oro Governor Gary Jufa also urged leaders to look at changing resource laws that was designed during the colonial days.
Resolutions that come out.
The Governors' Conference is held every 4 years, but there are plans to hold a conference every 2 years. However, Governor Jufa says the conference is long overdue and must occur annually where discussions can be carried out between provincials' heads. At the same time, Jufa says a secretariat should also be appointed to follow through with meeting outcomes and other government matters put forward at the summit.
All governors agreed that there must be a governors' conference every year, during which we must review the results of the previous conference, the outcomes, and the resolutions. There must also be a secretariat created so that all the resolutions that come out of these type of conferences or this particular conference, all the resolutions must be acted upon. We can't just leave this conference feeling good about ourselves because we expressed our concerns about the country and then nothing happens.
He says with the current economic constraints, provincial governments should find ways to generate funds and not depend on government funding.
One is giving the provincial governments greater financial autonomy so that they are not always running back to Waigani and ministers and the government for money, but they can raise their own revenues and they can manage their own provinces without having to always come here to Waigani and find out where their money is, why it's not being paid on time, and so forth and henceforth.
Governor Jufa also called for a relook at resources laws that were drawn up in the colonial days.
We have to change these laws so that they benefit us. For example, you look at the royalty returns on resources, it's about 2%. Every other country, the royalty returns are in 20%, 28%, even 30% in some instances. Why are we getting only 2% on our resources? These are some of the issues that were discussed. We look at the gas agreement, the current gas agreement. That agreement was a scam. It is evident. It is now known that it was a scam. So therefore, all the governors have resolved that these laws must be reviewed for the better interests of our people, current and future. This is no different from the time when you had people who came to our country and took vast amounts of land for beads, for steel access, for tobacco, and they got access to much of our resources. The same thing is happening today, except our ancestors did not have knowledge of the value of their resources, and they did not know the value of the garbage that they were accepting.
Godwin Eki, National MTV News.
You're with National MTV News. Among stories after the break, the APEC Business Advisory Council announces preparations for the APEC Leaders Summit, a new ambulance for Mbonga, and string band music makes a comeback. Stay tuned for the details. Welcome back to National EMTV News. With the eyes of the world on Papua New Guinea in this year of APEC, the APEC Business Advisory Council is working hard to ensure that its activities in the lead-up to the APEC Leaders Summit are successful. In the immediate future, APEC PNG will co-host the Digital Economic Forum, which is a first for APEC. Preparations for this and following events were made known today. The APEC Business Advisory Council provided an update on the preparations for activities in the lead-up to the major events later this year, the APEC CEO Summit and the APEC Leaders Meeting. On the 19th of this month, the Digital Innovation Forum, which PNG will co-host with Taiwan, will be held. This is the first of its kind for APEC and is in line with this year's theme of harnessing inclusive opportunities, embracing the digital future. This will be followed by the third APEC Council meeting in Kuala Lumpur. The 4th to the 10th of August will be Food Security Week, which will include the APEC Food Security Summit, which APEC will co-host with the PNG Department of Agriculture and Livestock and National Fisheries Authority. According to APEC Council member Wen Golding, topics in this summit will focus on food security, which is crucial for Papua New Guinea, especially at a time when this issue is increasingly becoming an issue for APEC economies.
Food security deals with the aspect of how you can look after your own food supply chain for our own people. That's what food security is. It may mean that basically there's movements of imports coming in, which we don't do, we don't produce. Then there's other aspects where we need to uplift, and this is the key of this meeting. APEC's influence on this meeting is purely on policy change and the ideals that basically we need to start looking at our food production so that we can look after ourselves.
APEC will also facilitate the MSME and Innovation Summit, this to take place from the 10th to the 11th of September.
We're given enough time to put a communique at the end of the summit that can be presented to the relevant authorities to present at the leaders meeting later on in the year.
It will also include a trade expo as well. So it's basically targeting people who are in that space, the four categories and participants, and mainly service providers.
With these events taking place in the lead-up to the APEC CEO Summit and Leaders Conference in November, APEC is keen on ensuring that agendas and recommendations agreed to are followed through to ensure action is taken at the highest political level.
All the events that we host will have a filtering process where at the end of each event there must be resolutions and recommendations. Otherwise, don't host the event. You're wasting your time. So those recommendations and conclusions will filter through to the senior officials meeting, which is the secretaries and government department heads. Then it filters through to the ministers. Then it filters through to the leaders and of course, the wider audience at the CEO conference.
A fully kitted ambulance was delivered to the people of Mbonga yesterday for health workers to respond to emergencies. Local MP Pilani Ningi said the ambulance will also be patrolling the national highway to respond to road accidents. The ambulance was presented to Buyebi Catholic Health Centre.
Over 2,000 people who live in and around Buyebi area now have ambulance to transport anyone needing emergency medical help. Local MP Pila Niningi told his people that the ambulance is the property of the Southern Highlands Provincial Health Department. He urged them to take responsibility of such assets and not damaging them when there is a tribal fight.
Man is sick, emas karem. He got lifelong emba karem. He don't have karem man, diamond. Suppose he got die lo yeah, yes me black and coxim. Lo mendi yes me black and coxim. I can am close to yes me black and coxim. Abrus lego. You me can buy respect him, you suppose you respect him. You yet throw my manina. You yet you buy.
Health workers at Buyebi Health Centre can now respond swiftly to emergencies in the villages to save lives. Locals in the surrounding communities have previously had to walk distances to arrive at Buyebi to receive health services. These journeys are time-consuming and usually life-threatening. Mr. Niningi said the ambulance is fitted with a GPS tracker and is fully kitted with first aid kits for health officers to do a mobile clinic. Niningi said health is his priority area in development and the Mbonga District Development Authority will soon establish health centers and district hospitals.
Biar mi piris pins tu ba mingim kartu. Ausik milag wagim lo pins tu.
Overcrowding at health centers are an issue that Niningi wants to address. People in Mbonga, like other rural parts of PNG, have experienced sick patients and pregnant mothers being sent home due to limited number of hospital beds and space. Niningi said the Development Authority will establish 8 posts in each council wards to minimize overcrowding in health centers. Vasinata Yama, National EMTV News, Mount Hagen.
The second Hospitality Expo concluded in Port Moresby today. This year's event, an initiative of the Papua New Guinea Tourism Industry Association, saw major brewer SP Brewery on board as a presenting sponsor. The second Hospitality Expo concluded today. Organized by the PNG Tourism Industry Association, the event brought together a few hospitality service providers from Port Moresby as well as other centres. Also present were SP Brewery, who officially announced their support for this event through a 10,000 kina sponsorship as presenting partner.
What a wonderful association. These are people that are really a collective group of people that are really moving the agenda of tourism and hospitality in PNG. We need to be partners with them in their agenda. So hence we had a meeting. And everything was just fell into place. It just made sense for us to participate in an organization like this, because if you look at the tourism and hospitality industry, a big component of that is the food and beverage aspect of tourism and hospitality. And we play a very significant, we're part of that space.
SP Brewery also affirmed to work in partnership with the Tourism Industry Association going forward.
With this particular partnership here that we're having with PNG-TIA, what we intend to do towards the back end of the year, when we do that launch in Kokopo, I believe, is that we're going to be also introducing a new campaign. It's called the Responsible Service of Alcohol campaign.
With the formalities out of the way, visitors to the expo were given a glimpse of what was on offer by various providers. Among them, Sanctuary Hotel, a newcomer to the Port Moresby market. Operating for just over a year, this hotel has focused on being an environmentally friendly operation, opting to source most of its ingredients from the local market. And according to the hotel's head chef, Wanaba, this move to sourcing local ingredients has been successful with an increasing patronage.
Our presentation now here, everything we have on our presentation table is all fresh from our own garden. We do our own gardening. We grow our own herbs and vegetables. We get it from there and we do our cooking and services. And also I'm eager to share what I have from my own experience and from the industry I'm working with. I'm proud to share what I have.
17 youth were presented with certificates after undergoing a week-long training under the Youth as Agents for Behavioral Change program facilitated by the National Youth Development Authority. The Youth Behavioral Change program is aimed at changing the mindset of youth by instilling Christian, cultural and family values.
Youth as Agents for Behavioral Change program is coordinated by National Capital District Commission under the Yumi Lukauti Moresby program and is facilitated by the National Youth Development Authority. This program started in Pari a week ago and will be rolled out to other Motu and coastal villages.
As concerned officers of the government agency, we need to correct this generation. We need to give big time to our young people so that our young people will get this information and personal effectiveness will be big in our lives. So it is all about changing the mindset of young people. So if we do this, then we'll see a change in our lives and in our community as well.
The 17 youths who graduated from this program will be agents of change for their community. In the coming weeks, these youths will be tasked to organize fellow youths in Pari village to participate in different activities with the aim of changing their mindsets in a positive direction.
If you think yourself negative, if you think yourself that you are nobody, your outside behavior will show like that too. But even though you never finish high school, maybe you're just grade 6, but if inside you say, no, I am somebody, I can do something, your outside behavior too will show them.
The youths displayed what they learned in the week through an arts presentation and a song.
This is the TED program. We have done Bomana CS officers. We've done another program with the juveniles, and now we are here with the youths of Paris. So we're looking forward to the villages in the Motu Koita area and also the Motu and coastline. And seriously, as government youth workers, we need to be in this village, we need to be with the young people, and we need to give them some sense of direction.
Stacey Yalo, National MTV News.
Yesterday, Geruhu Secondary School hosted their cultural show, displaying all 22 provinces with outstanding dance performances through the theme of promoting cultural diversity through education. School Principal Besoko Agwan said this is the first of their fundraising events for the year to build a sick bay for the school.
Over 5,000 parents, students, children, and residents of Port Moresby gathered at Geruhu Secondary School yesterday to witness the students showcase the cultural flavor of PNG's 22 provinces.
Purpose of the cultural show is to erect a sick bay for the student. For the last, the school being established, we don't have a sick bay. And it is important and it is vital that we have a sick bay so that students are attended with minor sicknesses and then can be sent back to the class rather than having to be sent outside of the school during normal routine of the school time.
With an aim to build a sick bay for the school, this is their first fundraising event.
It needs more than 100,000 kina to erect that sick bay. And we need to have other fundraising activities which are online. And one of those were cultural show.
The students took the initiative to arrange their own provincial costumes and dances. Throughout the event, cultural bartering between provinces were showcased.
Kind of trying to replicate the barter system in the past years, where our tubunas and our were doing in terms of exchange. Definitely there were barter system. So a dish of food, either cooked or uncooked, were presented to one of the cultural groups that they have chosen in the panel.
Also coinciding with the show, the school officially celebrated their 35th anniversary.
The 22 provinces have participated in full color and full gear. It was much enjoyed by students as well as the public that came around to watch. The crowd was just huge compared to previous cultural shows we had.
Lilian Soperakinea, National MTV News.
String band music has been in the country for many years. Its popularity, however, has declined with the younger generation. The Console Production Studio in Leh is working on reviving this genre of music by recording old string bands. This week they started recording long-time string bands, the Hornets of Assisi, Eroro Nataba, and 3 other bands.
This is the Hornets of Assisi band from the Oro province. They are one of 5 other string bands that are being recorded at the Console Studio in Leh, all in the efforts to revive string band music.
String band has really gone off for so many years, so with me and brother Richard Mogu, we are trying to try our best to revive the string bands in the province, especially the ones that are more popular 20 years ago.
Spokesperson of the Hornets of Assisi band, Ian Embo, said recording again will hopefully help influence younger musicians to play and record live music.
By doing that, we will promote the string band music and then encourage the young boys to continue on from even when we leave, they can take on from there.
Eroro Nataba is another band that is being recorded this week. Spokesperson Cedric Undaba said for the band, they took up the opportunity to record again because of their love for playing music.
The music that we play, it comes straight from our hearts. So we can really express it with feelings, and even when it might make us cry while we're singing, we can even sing sing the song.
Both bands have been around for more than 20 years. Mr. Embo said after recording the Hornets of Assisi's 5th album 2 years ago, they are delighted to be recording again.
The feeling is off, it's you can feel that, sort of lifting yourself off the ground, that sort of feeling.
Graham Ronnie from the Consel Studios says finance has been a challenge to record the bands. However, they will continue to record and release the albums by December.
Money, and hopefully, people who are stream band lovers and stream band fans, they can follow us up and then support us to release and revive the string bands from the province. Not only in Oro, but also we're trying to record other string bands in other provinces as well.
Lucy Kopana, National EMTV News, Leh.
And on that musical note, we go for another break. When we come back, we take a look at stories making headlines overseas. Welcome back to Friday's news. Turning overseas now, the red carpet has been rolled out for US President Donald Trump on his first official visit to Britain, where he's already making headlines for all the wrong reasons. His presence has caused a major headache for British Prime Minister Theresa May by wading into the Brexit debate, and as expected, anti-Trump protesters have also been out in full force.
It was a fairy tale location for a lavish banquet, welcoming the man some label a hero, others a villain. All dolled up, Donald Trump and wife Melania were greeted by Prime Minister Theresa May and husband Philip at Blenheim Palace, the birthplace of the president's hero, Winston Churchill. And they were treated to the best of British pomp and ceremony. But President Trump's visit might be remembered less for pageantry and more for protests. Outside, many Oxford locals protested his arrival. And earlier, outside Trump's London accommodation, demonstrators made their anger clear.
His policies are a little bit too closely aligned with fascism. Although we're in England and he's American, there are decisions that he's making that just affect everybody in the world.
Even a Kiwi was among them.
These feelings are probably felt across the world. Certainly, obviously, there's a lot of people here that are pretty passionate. It's racism, sexism, I guess, separation of children at the border.
President Trump is just leaving the ambassador's residence here in central London amid some pretty vocal protests. But tomorrow, the protests are expected to be much louder and much, much bigger.
They'll also include a giant baby Trump blimp, which will fly above the Thames. But the president doesn't seem fazed.
Protests, there might be protests, but I believe that the people in the UK, Scotland, Ireland, as you know, I have property in Ireland, I have property all over. I think that those people, they like me a lot, and they agree with me on immigration.
I think Donald Trump will have wonderful and fruitful conversations with the Prime Minister, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who's president or who's Prime Minister. The long-standing relationship between our two countries will endure.
But with a strained relationship between the two leaders, it's at its weakest point in years.
Welcomed home by complete strangers, one of the British divers who helped free the 12 boys trapped in a Thai cave has arrived in London to a large waiting crowd. He has also spoken about the rescue mission and says it was a huge relief to get the group out alive. But he is reluctant to be called a hero.
Quietly, modestly, with all his diving gear, John Valanthan returned to Britain. Praised by strangers,
we were pleased it worked out,
but playing down what he'd done.
We're not heroes. What we do is very calculating, very calm. It's quite the opposite. We take it one step at a time, and hopefully, as we've managed to in this case, we come up with a result.
And what a result.
How many of you? 13.
Brilliant. It was John who found the young footballers in the cave and then worked with many others to get them out. An extraordinary rescue, the most challenging conditions, a race against time.
An international team of military and civilian divers working alongside the Thai Navy. Everybody pulled together and the results speak for themselves. So we're just very happy that the boys are out and safe.
We've got someone who's done something so heroic.
Pride in the North Somerset village where John Valanthan is a scout leader.
We teach children as part of the Scouts and Girl Guiding movement to think of others before themselves, to think about the world around them. And he's just taken that to the sort of ultimate.
There are calls for honours, but John Valanthan says cave rescuing is just his hobby.
It's made everyone very proud. Thank you.
Now it's time to sleep and get back to the day job in IT.
Now the youngest member of the Kardashian-Jenner clan is dividing opinion. Kylie Jenner is said to become one of the youngest ever self-made billionaires, according to Fox magazine. The 20-year-old is already worth more than $1 billion, thanks to a cosmetic line she started 3 years ago.
Kylie Jenner, 20 years old, a new mum, and according to Forbes magazine, 100 million short of being the youngest ever self-made billionaire.
We knew we didn't want to do this with anyone else. I didn't want to sell in any other store.
She's the youngest of the Kardashian-Jenner family and has featured on their reality TV show Keeping Up with the Kardashians from the age of 10. But her fortune comes from selling lipsticks and lip liners.
I really wanted to show you guys first.
$900 million is how much she's estimated to be worth, and she's amassed that amount in just under 3 years.
What's interesting with Kylie Jenner is that she obviously endorses brands, but with her makeup range, she is the brand, and she already has this huge social following. So suddenly, her social following becomes her potential customer base. So there's a lot of money to be had when she has over 110 million people following her on Instagram.
And that's the difference between her and more traditional brands. Her kind of audience want quick-to-market products they find out about on social media.
And that's one of the contributing factors to Kylie's success. She wears her makeup and shows her tens of millions of social media followers exactly how to use it. The only problem is that not everyone is impressed with the term self-made billionaire.
Her family have minted. I saw that, so she didn't come from nothing. She came from a foundation.
So you were just talking about Kylie Jenner. What were you talking about?
How, like, it's crazy that she's, like, the youngest billionaire, like, in the world.
Why is it crazy?
Because she's, like, our age, and it's, like...
It seems like she doesn't do anything all day.
But, I mean, it's fun because, like, if you have that opportunity coming from, like, that family, you know what I mean? Like, you're taking your opportunities. Like, we would do the same.
Mark Zuckerberg was declared a billionaire by 23, and if Kylie continues on this projection, she could be one before 22. And superfans are helping. They're crowdfunding to get her to that mark.
Here with Friday's news, we go for a break now. When we come back, Trukai Sports, including the under-19 national football team in training for the OFC Challenge, and more support for the PNG Palais as they prepare for the Women's Rugby World Cup in San Francisco. Stay tuned for the details.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. We begin with football, and the PNG FA Under-19 soccer team based in Lae are preparing for the OFC Under-19 Championships in Tahiti in August. 16 of the 19-member team came from the Besta PNG United team in the National Soccer League. Lae-based company Panamex PNG came on board and assisted the team with uniforms branded with one of their products.
Thank you to Panamex.
The PNG FA Under-19 National Soccer League team in PNG will travel to Tahiti in August for the OFC Under-19 Championship. 16 boys from the Under-19 team came from the Besta soccer team. The team's coach Harrison Kamake says they have also identified few local players who have joined the team.
We believe they will fit into our system of play when we go out there doing what we tasked to do.
Panamex PNG came on board and assisted the team with uniforms branded with one of their new products. The team is now identified as Bonito Under-19 National Football Team of PNG.
We have, with the Fonterra, that's the mother company in New Zealand, have really, come down and they said, okay for us to brand the team. So we have prepared a training t-shirt, the official local polo set and the cap, all branded with PNGFA logo, OFC and Bonito.
5 players of the Under-19 team are also trained for the Melanesian Cup in November this year. The director for PNGFA Academy, Idris Kombrowa, says the team can qualify for the World Cup.
They will be there under 23, hopefully to represent PNG in the Olympics. And by the time they get to 24, they are ready to represent the Papua New Guinea proper senior by the World Cup, I believe.
Julie Badui Owa, National MTV Sports, Ley.
The Rugby Union and ICTSI South Pacific today announced its support for the national women's rugby team, the ICTSI Palais, with a sponsorship package of 200,000 kina. Chief Executive Officer Edward Mutia says the support is not about how much is given, but rather to help develop women's rugby in Papua New Guinea.
The 7th edition of Rugby World Cup will see PNG's national men's and women's teams participating for the very first time. After months of hard work and training, ICTSI Palais will leave for USA on Monday. Today, ICTSI South Pacific made its announcement of supporting the Palais to US with 200,000 kina.
Today we have formally announced that we will back the new PNG ICTSI Palais Sevens rugby team. That's what the team's going to be called. We are in it for the long haul and we are delighted to be back in this team. I think they're looking in good shape. The target is 2020 Summer Olympics, as John says, and we should be right behind that.
Also supporting the ICTSI Palais was Carbine Club, handing in a cheque of 50,000 kina. Coach John Larry thanked ICTSI, saying it was a challenge finding sponsorship, but is grateful to see ICTSI continue to support.
We had about 26 ladies fighting for our spot. We came around for the best 12 and 2 shadows. And we already picked the final 12 going to the World Cup.
He says the team spearheaded by Captain Cassandra Sampson has a good lineup of players and looks forward to a tough encounter with Australia in their first match. Rugby World Cup San Francisco will kick off on 20th July. Godwin Eki, National MTV Sports.
Trukai Sports continues with more after these messages. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. To Muay Thai, kickboxing and world welterweight champion Lee the Flash Garup has told MTV Sports the training and preparations for his international meet with opponent Uten Chanavan are progressing well. On a mission to retain his world title, Garup's aim was to host the fight on home soil and at the same time expose national champions to the rest of the world.
With the stage name Flash, Lee Garup, a world welterweight champion, says preparations for his world title defense are going well.
I've been training really hard at the gym and home. At home I was, doing all this with the tires and the trees, and I was training really hard. Monday we come, we do bags, pads. Tuesday, Wednesday we do strength conditioning training. Every Thursday we do power with weights, and Friday we just spar. And Saturday we do distance running, and so I'm fight fit now. I think I need to cut maybe 2 kilos or something, that's all.
He says his only goal for this fight is to retain his title.
I wanted to keep this one, so I'm trying to defend it. I was training really hard for it, and like I said last time on the press conference, the only way he's going to get the title from me is to knock me out.
When we have sportsmen who are like this, who are champions, who are not just champions in the sport but also in society, they play a very crucial role as role models. We need to champion them as well. All of us need to get behind them. If we can put front page news for state of origin, which is played in an overseas country where the rugby players don't even know where Papua New Guinea is, why can't we support our own sports people like this? So I'm urging all of you Papua New Guineans to go and watch Lee Garup fight for his world title fight. And he will win, and we must get behind him and other sports people like this from Papua New Guinea. Thank you.
Lee says the reason for hosting the fight on home soil was not only to give national fighters exposure, but also to use the title defense as an avenue to showcase their talents.
After this one, yes, I've got a lot of chances to go out and fight, but because I wanted to promote it here, I give the chance to all the local boys to, have some, feel of the, World Championship fighting a show like that. So that's why I promoted here in PNG.
So far, Lee has had 143 fights, of which he won 132 and one draw. Lee's opponent, U10 Chanaven, a champion in Thailand, has had 211 fights, won 145 with 3 draws. Godwin Eki, National, MTV Sports.
And that's it for Trukai Sports. We go for a break. When we come back, the weather details for Saturday. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
A look at the weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow in the southern region. Cloud with a chance of a few light rain and showers for Port Moresby. Fine for the rest of the region.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
And that's the way it is today, Friday the 13th of July. On behalf of the news team, pleasant viewing. Have a safe weekend. Good night.